Awkward people of Reddit, what stupid things have you said by accident? I worked in an office and there was a homeless guy outside that used to ask for cigarettes. I was walking up the street and saw him, so was practicing what to say in my head. It went like this. Him. Give me a smile, me. Sorry, I don't have any. The cashier at a shoe store asked me if I wanted to sign up for their rewards program. I said no thanks, I don't really wear shoes. I said thank you to a vending machine once. Was at a wedding one time and saw this lady kissing a man for a photo. I said you guys are a beautiful couple. She looks at me in disgust and replies, he is my uncle. Thanks to the entirely needless proximity of the T and G keys, I once signed off a very important email with the phrase kind retards. Well, once that I know of. Waiting in line to return some stuff at Home Depot. Plumbing associate comes up to get some returns. He's wrestling with some long pipes. So, I grabbed the other side and helped him load them onto his cart. Him. Thank you, but you didn't need to do that, me. I don't mind. It looked like you really could use another hand. As he was walking away, I realized one of his arms was amputated at the elbow. MFW. I was riding my bike around one day when a person walked by me and said hi, and I said thanks back to them. I once asked a widow at her husband's funeral if she was going to start dating soon. Your dog looks hot. The dog was clearly overheating, but the tone in which I said it sounded like I was asking to marry her dog. I was 13 at the time, but this still keeps me up at night. I used to be pretty conservative Christian, and I had a dear Jewish friend who once told me she didn't believe in hell. I meant to say to her that what we think now only matters to a point and that we will attain perfect knowledge of what actually exists once we pass on to the next life, but all I managed to say was, you'll see when you die. We never recovered from that one. Oh, where to start? Lol. Most recently, I guess. I was walking out of my office building and had my umbrella with me. A lady walks in as I'm walking out and asks, hey, where did you get that? I'm assuming because she wanted to buy one for herself. But stupid awkward me responded with it's mine. And promptly running away into the rain. FML. Saying you too when the airport ticket scanner person tells me to have a nice flight. Today I was working with a high-profile client, and I intended to say if you need anything else don't hesitate to let me know, but my brain was stuck on, please let me know, so what I said was if you need anything else, please hesitate to let me know. So I won't be surprised if I don't hear from him again anytime soon. I walked into a pole when I was with some friends and said sorry to the freaking pole, then I was like, oh sorry, you're not a person to the pole again. Everyone including my mom still makes fun of me for that to this day. I put an old collar from my cat on a stuffed tiger. The cat had long since passed away. We were doing a school play one day and I was the lion tamer, so I brought the tiger in with his collar. Some guy walked up to talk to me about how funny it was that my tame tiger had a collar and, what did I say? Thanks, I took it off of my dead cat. That ended that conversation right there. Once I was really high and the pizza guy said, enjoy your meal, so I was going to say thanks, you too, but my more awkward friend, who was high AF too, said, don't tell her what to do. I said sorry when I walked into a wall. At school. With a mic on. On a stage auditioning for student president. Went to a job interview with the Royal Navy. The guy shook my hand at the end and said good luck, I'm sure you will be great in the Navy, and I said you too, and then shortly after he said goodbye, and I replied love you. During a break between classes in high school, a friend classmate called herself fat. I told her she isn't. We started arguing about what weight and appearance a person has to have so they can be uncontroversially and unambiguously labeled fat. Then a very overweight girl enters the class. I immediately point at her, like she's a specimen, and say, this is fat. My friend immediately gets silent and says, well, you should apologize now. I am also awkward at apologizing. So I got red in the face and just left the classroom for the rest of the break. Only gathered enough courage to apologize at the end of the school day. I asked a coworker how their trip to China went, and I got distracted right after I asked the question and automatically replied nice, I bet it was quite the experience. Then moments later my brain registered a reply. She said on my way there my mom died and I had to come back to deal with that. We don't talk anymore. So at my job we have to say have a nice day, and I was working night shift and tried to say have a nice night and day at the same time. I ended up saying nay, I wanted to die. I've said it about 5 times at my job. I have died a little bit inside when it happens. At a formal. Girl next to me has a flimsy dress. I say, wow, that dress looks terrible. That day I learned that terrible sounds exactly the same as terrible. You can tell a lot about a newborn's health by their pallor. They can come out purple and blue, or yellow, gray or white, or a healthy flushed pink. I was pretty excited when I received the news that one of my nieces had been born while I was at work. I rushed into my boss's office and said breathlessly, "The baby is here. She has all 10 fingers and 10 toes and came out the right color and everything." An alternate interpretation of the right color hadn't occurred to me until I saw the look on his face. Was at a music festival. Standing next to a girl before the next group and she says, "I like your shorts." For whatever reason the first thing I was able to yell out was, "Thanks, we should trade." I was talking with one of my friends on campus one day, a completely platonic female friend. I was recovering from being really sick and at one point she jokingly punched me on the shoulder or something. I jokingly said back, "Hey, don't touch me, I'm sick." However, I was pretty much better and I wanted to let her know that, so I added on, "Just kidding, I'm better. You can touch me whenever you want." It made sense in my head, but as soon as it came out of my mouth I knew it was wrong. We shared an awkward silence, but eventually got back talking normally, but I'll always think about that every time I see her. So I once asked a friend about his father. Yup. He had no father. Got the hell out of there, embarrassed to tell this to another guy. Yup. He didn't have a father either. I think I died that day. A little bit. Oh. Your grandpa finally died? Should have kept that finally in my head. Would you like that cut in whole or left half? Once at karate practice I hit my friend a little bit too hard. I was stunned since I never go in for contact. I was so stressed and was going to say sorry. Are you okay? But I mixed them up and yelled out, "Are you sorry?" So I was giving off some quite gay vibes as a freshman, and a sophomore asked me boys or girls. And I just said yes and outed myself like an idiot. I was a really awkward kid, like more awkward than I am today. I was at a wedding of one of my dad's military friends. I was introduced to the groom's son, named Taylor. I told him, "There's a girl in my class named Taylor, do you know her?" I was 8, I knew that having the same name didn't mean anything. He wasn't even from my state. My mom pulled me away and I didn't realize until after the wedding how weird what I said was. I suck at comforting people face to face. The girl I had the absolute biggest crush on was crying and venting to me about how her anxiety disorder is stopping her from living a normal life. "Okay, but calm down," was the only thing that came out of my mouth. Luckily we both had a good laugh about it. I once spoke Greek to a deaf person. An English-speaking deaf person. In high school I told someone Merry Christmas and they replied that they were Jewish, so I cheerfully replied Happy Jewish then. It's been over 10 years and I still cringe at the thought. Someone was talking to me in Spanish and asked me if I understood Spanish. I told him no, which made things awkward because clearly I understood what he said to me in Spanish. Otherwise, I wouldn't have replied. Literally 2 days ago my buddy dropped me off at my house. I had just told him on the way home about how tired I was and I was gonna nap. He told me he was going to the pub. As I left he told me to enjoy my nap and I told him, "You too, see ya." My friends were pretending to be girls and the first thing I said was a juicy chunk of tea. Once went grocery shopping and used a self-checkout machine to pay for said groceries. Machine? Thank you for shopping with us. Me. You're welcome. People all around me started staring. Had my earphones in too, so probably said it louder than usual. Mortified. I was trying to say I got up on my high horse while in a staff meeting. What I said was I got up on my whorehouse. I research cancer and I find the disease, on a molecular level, to be fascinating. Many years ago I was at my parents' house talking to my neighbor, who is a testicular cancer survivor, about my research, and my dumbest blurts out, "I think cancer is just so cool." Definitely not what I meant. At a baby shower, trying to make small talk and hypothetical future plans with the mother-to-be. When you have the thing. I hadn't ridden in a minivan since the 1990s. Within the last year, I got a ride in an Uber minivan. When I got out, I was about to close the door manually when the guy said he'll get it, it's automatic. My response? Sorry, I'm used to the 90s. I don't care what anyone says, ending a phone call from your boss with "love you, bye" is perfectly normal and acceptable. Right? Years ago, I was hooking up with this girl. One day she came over and we were going to fool around and then watch "I love you, man." We do the deed and then as we are laying in bed, I just say, "I love you, man." To ask if she wanted to watch the movie right then. She thought I meant the other thing. I immediately had to apologize and say what I actually meant. Got to love telling the people at security, "You too," when they say, "Have a nice flight." Then I'm left wondering if I set off some sort of social alarm. When are you due? To a fat woman. I was walking to class with my professor and they were holding a cup of coffee which I noticed to be leaking. So my intellectual self says, out of panic, "Oh, you're leaking," to which I get no response but an awkward silence the rest of the way. This was my first time having a one-to-one encounter with this professor. I think I gave out a great impression of myself. A girl dropped her mittens on a subway, so I picked them up for her and said, "Here's your weapons instead of mittens." Fuck. My ex was talking to me about how his younger brother had tuberculosis since he was born and that his life expectancy is shitty. My stupid brain picked that up as pregnancy expectancy and I laughed. Out loud. He said it wasn't funny. I told him what my brain told me. He still said it wasn't funny. I realized a little too late on what I had just laughed at. My hearing and my brain betrayed me. Zero edit. It was an honest mistake. Moments, yet it's not something I think people will believe me for. I was walking along the sidewalk one time and I encountered this one girl with which I don't talk that much. She usually never greets me but then she actually went ahead and said hi. I was startled and unprepared for this. I was thinking of telling her, "Hey. How are you doing?" Like a normal person, but my 400 IQ brain mixed up the hey and the you and all I ended up saying was, "Yee." I was trash talking my brother once when I was little. I went to say "I'm gonna wreck you," but I accidentally said, "I'm gonna rape you." A few years ago, my family and I were visiting some distant relatives at a cousin's house. Me and my sister, who is 5 years older than me, were sitting down when we went to go say hi. I guess they recognized my sister cause they sure as hell didn't know who I was. So I was thinking of what to say before I shake their hands. I'm her brother or she's my sister, I couldn't decide, and I accidentally said I'm her sister. I'm a guy. By far the most stupidest thing I've ever said. My sister still teases me till this day.